watching The Brand. I'm Melisa Idris. Now today on the show, we're going to take you behind what makes a successful brand. Chobani is a brand that is not just a market leader in the Greek-style yogurt business, it really pioneered the segment in the US. So joining me on the show today, I have the founder and CEO of Chobani, Hamdi Ulukaya. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Melissa.
Now, for me, I have to say, I'm a fan of the brand. But what I think is important is that Chobani is so much more than just its product. For me, it's what it represents, right? It's the story behind Chobani. It represents the underdog entrepreneurial success story. It represents the American dream. I kind of want to get your opinion, and let's start there. Perhaps you can share that story with us for those who are not familiar with the genesis of Chobani.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm from Turkey originally. I moved to US when I was 23 years old, dropped out from university in Ankara. And my background is farming. I mean, nomads, in Kurdish region in Turkey, where we would go to the mountains and would make cheese and yogurt, and then come back to town in the wintertime, and then next summer we would go up. That's the life I was grown up with. So when I moved to US, business, being a businessman or being an entrepreneur was far, far away from me. I never thought I would be.
You had a political science degree.
I had a political science study. I had a very interesting view on business. I've always grown up looking at the world of business, a dirty world, unfair world.
So would you consider yourself an anti-capitalist?
I'm an anti-CEO. Actually, I did a TED talk 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago in Vancouver. I don't think it's out yet. And the title was Anti-CEO.
Oh, wow.
But, that is the beginning of my thoughts on business, simply because where I grew up, we didn't have much. We had our sheep, we had our livestock, we would make cheese and yogurt. We didn't have a lot of expensive toys, but we had a beautiful life. We had the community, we had nature, we have good food, and a social control and the culture and where I grew up. So we had enough. Really, money didn't mean much to us in that moment. What meant a lot is the honor and dignity and social interactions and all that kind of stuff. That's where I grew up. When I made it to upstate New York, I saw a different part of the business side, which affected me dramatically. And when I started Chobani, actually happened with an accident. My father came and he said, "Why don't you make cheese here? They don't have good cheese." And I remember laughing to my father. He says, "Why would I do that? Why would I go thousands of miles from my home and do exactly what I was doing back home?" So it didn't make any sense. Of course, fathers are fathers. They convinced me, so I was making some cheese. And one day I looked, an ad came to me and it said, "Fully equipped yogurt plant for sale."
This was the Kraft defunct factory, right?
Yeah.
Kraft was getting out of the business. So one of the largest food producers in the world was getting out of the yogurt business, and you said, "Hey, I see an opportunity there."
Exactly. And my lawyer said to me, "You're crazy. Like, why one of the largest company in the world is getting out of yogurt business and they're closing this factory? Who the hell are you? Like, what do you think you are?" Right. And then the next one I called him, I said, no, I think I can do something here. And he said, "Well, you don't have money. You don't have money to buy this place. You haven't even paid me."
You haven't paid a lawyer.
Which was true. The first thing I did when I got the key for the plant was I hired 4 of the employees that Kraft let go, 55 of them. Wow. So 4 factory workers and me, and I had the key on August 15, 2005. And the first thing we did is we started painting the walls outside because we did not know anything else, what else we were going to do. And that summer we painted the walls. 2 years after that day, we launched Chobani. Now, I had no idea about business. I did not go to business school. I had never worked anywhere else. I did not read a lot of business books, and I did not have a network of people who were business people. I was involved with farmers and students and workers. And so we figured this out ourselves when we started.
To what do you credit the incredible success of Chobani? I mean, this is a company that in less than 5 years had become the #1 selling Greek yogurt in the US. It was worth more than $1 billion in the space of 5 years.
Yes, and that factory, that old factory, became one of the largest yogurt factory in the country. And then we built another factory in Idaho. In less than a year, became the largest yogurt factory in the world. And we invested $700 million in there. And the best part of Chobani is the same exact people that made this happen. I give credits to a few things. One is I give credits to teaching of my mother and my father and where I come from. It's extremely important that I say that, because that environment where I grew up was extremely effective on how I was thinking. The second one is where I started. In that old factory, I found the biggest resources that anyone can hope for, which is the human spirit. The workers, the farmers, the community people, they affected me dramatically. And the other one is, not knowing too much becomes sometimes in benefit, because sometimes knowledge scares you. Sometimes experience, especially in the field of business, prevents you to do things by yourself. So when you don't have the knowledge and resources and experience, who you turn to? Yourself. Right. And all the wise people will say, if you trust to yourself, a lot of good answers will come. And from the name Chobani to cup and design of cup, to what kind of food inside, to where do I go sell first, to what kind of pricing would I put it in there, to how do I make sure that I can make more, to how do I make sure that the big companies like Dannon's and Your Place and all those multi-million companies, when they come into the space, I can compete with them.
Fight with the big boys.
Fight with the big boys. And these were all internal, answers that came to this. Right. And my message to the world of entrepreneurs, and I have an incubator. Today in Chobani has an incubator that we have a class that we bring food startups into Chobani, and we tell them about our journey. And I said, if I had an opportunity to talk to someone like me who has done it before, I would tell them it's not a big deal. It's not as big a deal that people make it to it. One. Two, this is an amazing journey. And hear from the guy who hated business from the beginning. It's an amazing journey if you bring all in. It's not about you, it's all of us. It's about workers, it's about community, it's about the world of consumers. And then let's magic start happening. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be all picnic. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. But as long as you look at the mountain that you want to climb, the troubles in the beginning, in the middle.
And I really want to talk to you about that magic that you found in creating Chobani. Let's come back after these messages right here on The Brand. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching The Brand. I'm Melisa Idris. Today on the show with me, I have the CEO and founder of Chobani. We have Hamdi Ulukaya. Of course, Chobani is a multi-billion-dollar yogurt business, and we want to find out a little bit more about what it took to build this brand. So, how would you describe to me the brand ethos of Chobani? And is it the same now as it was when you started back in 2007?
I hope so. I think we get stronger and stronger and stronger. So let me tell you what Chobani means.
Shepherd.
Shepherd in Turkish.
I just found that out. And that
so
makes
I grew up
much
with
sense.
shepherds, and I was going from Chicago to Madison, Wisconsin to buy this old machine so I can make yogurt with it. And in that boring drive, I was thinking about what am I going to call this brand? And in that drive, I said, what about Chobani? It's about shepherds. And when I came back to Chicago and looked at internet, it was available, so I had it. So if you start with the name shepherd, then you know what shepherd is I grew up with them. It's given without expecting anything in back. Shepherds are protectors. Shepherds are leaders. Shepherds are sign of goodness. And if you look at them, we look at prophets are all shepherds. You know, these are magical people. So if you call yourself a shepherd, you better act like it. and shepherds are also fighters. You know, we are warriors also at the same time, fight for the good thing in a right way. And in the ashes of an old factory, when you start things, you say, I'm going to make this better than ever before, but I'm going to do it in a right way. I'm going to do it right by the consumers. I'm going to do it right with the factory workers. I'm going to do it right with the farmers. And I am going to really beat the other guys up. And I'm going to use all the business tactics and materials to be able to do that. So the seconds, the minutes, the hours, and the days, and the weeks, and the months counts. And everything happens with one cup, one case, one pallet, one truck, and then the 5 trucks. Everything has a beginning.
Right.
And however it starts, that's how it goes. And I tell my entrepreneur friends and say, don't waste minutes, because that's an opportunity to build culture. And the culture becomes the engine of the growth.
What do you mean by that? Don't waste
What we
minutes?
mean is, as a founders, for example, between the minute that I had the key to 2012, that's 7 years, I had never left the factory. When I asked factory workers to be there, I was there with them. I was packing the yogurts, I was making the yogurts, I was palletizing it, I was putting them in the trucks.
So you were very involved in it?
Very much involved, because that's what it takes. When you have no resources, you have to get the human capital in there.
Right.
And in there, I was the part of making the culture of Chobani. What do? We got each other's back. We fight. We invest. We will do it right by everyone. We will never ship one cup of yogurt that is not good. We will go home proud what we do every single day. We will pay attention to every single details, not only how the cup looks, but how yogurt is inside and how it behaves. We will make sure that we can, whatever we make proudly in this factory, transcends and translates into everywhere. And then we will make sure that while we are making all these yogurts, we will touch on people's life. Right. Not only the factory workers, but the refugees who live an hour away. We bring them into the places. Right. We create a family environment. We create a place where people can build their lives and let them transcend to their families and their families. And when somebody calls, I will personally answer. And I will talk to that person in an hour and talk to him how this yogurt is made and why is it good for you.
You know, so I respect that you have so much love and compassion for the people who work with you in building Chobani. Diversity is clearly a big, something that you're championing in your company. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you've got more than 15 countries, workers from 15 different countries.
We have, our 30% of our company's workforce are refugees from 16 different nationalities.
So there you go.
Some of them are actually settled from Malaysia to upstate New York, and they're working for us in our factory. And there are brothers. They're actually stakeholders in the company.
And how has that made Chobani better?
Rich, very, very rich. And what it does is, you have a brother from upstate New York, from Rohingya, or from Syria, or from Africa, and making yogurt and building lives together. How rich that is. And what it does is it expands our horizon. Really, it expands through our horizon outside of the location to the global humanity, really. And one of the biggest things that we have at Chobani is come as who you are.
What do you mean by that?
What you mean is you don't need to pretend to be smarter or look better or doesn't matter. And truly, if you ask anybody at Chobani, is one of the best things that happens at Chobani is anybody can come as who you are. So if you don't pretend to become somebody else to be accepted, then you will be more productive, right? So you're naturally you. You don't waste time to be anybody else.
Trying to fit in.
You're trying to fit in. So then anything that comes out of you is naturally, authentically belongs to you. So it's not that pretending to be coming from somebody else. So authenticity is one of the biggest, I think, wealth of Chobani. Authentic, real. That's because when you're real, anything that comes out of you is going to be real.
So that is the culture of Chobani, which you then embody in the yogurt with no preservatives, all organic.
How can you
really
not
embody that in the brand?
How could you make an unreal yogurt? You know, that's impossible to do it.
We're going to be back with more on the brand. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on The Brand. Today we're looking at the American pioneer of Greek-style yogurt, Chobani. And you know, for me, I think it's quite interesting that Chobani makes makes an ethical stand. So you are as much a businessman as you are a humanitarian, right? So you want to make a positive impact to communities. I guess I'm wondering how it is that brands and companies can balance the two, between the ethical and the profitable.
It's the same. It's the same. And that's what we're trying to say. If you are doing good by your people, your community, your consumer, and the world, you'll be more profitable, you'll be more innovative, you'll have more passionate people working for you, and you have a community that supports you.
Do you think the marketplace sees it like
100%. And the one catch, though, you actually have to have it in your DNA. You can't just say it in a CSR.
You can't fake it.
You can't fake it. Mm-hmm. If it's in your DNA, then if you put all of those things into your company, and if it's in it, you have a rocket engine in you. Nobody can stop you. That's how you can do unthinkables, because naturally it's in there. So when we have the refugees working for us, people thought this is politically wrong, that you're taking risk, that people will come, you know.
Well, Breitbart and
all that kind of stuff.
Conservatives were very upset with the move.
Well, vast majority of them was not right. But if you ask the community, it was the right information. But the truth comes out in a way. And that led us to share this experience that we had with the other businesses in solving, you know, how can you solve the refugee issues in the communities? And I say it's the businesses that has more powerful, and the businesses has more solution. They can have more solution, and it can be faster as long as they mean it. And we started Tent based on that idea of our experiences for 4 or 5 years at Chobani. So today we have about 130 companies publicly announcing that helping refugees wherever they are. They're either in Jordan or in Turkey, in Ethiopia, or in Netherlands, or in Canada, or in America, wherever it is. And we think that the topic of refugees is not a political issue, it's a humanitarian issue. It's not we think, it really is. And the minute they get a job, the minute they start getting a job, they stop being a refugee and being part of the community.
Right.
And they stop contributing to the community. Yeah. And we've done many studies in many markets that the countries and the societies that allow refugees to be part of the workforce and let them to be contributing to societies, the economic impact and social impact is extremely higher and powerful.
Right. So you founded the Tent Partnership for Refugees, and you mentioned you got all these corporations on board. Was it difficult to persuade them to come on board and say, look at what I've done, you can do it too and make a positive impact? Yeah,
I mean it's as long as we business people, entrepreneurs, we are logical people. We want to listen. So, oh, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And experience that we had for 4, 5, 6, 7 years before that is when we share, it says, oh, that makes sense. I wonder why we didn't look into this. And that was the same with me. I would say, I didn't know there was 20 million refugees around the world. I thought there were only some, and there was some Utica, and I hired them. And businesses can come up very quick solutions. You know, we know how to come up with solutions. And we are fast. we can make decisions very fast and we can implement it very fast. We launched it in 2016 in Davos with a few companies like Airbnb and LinkedIn, MasterCard, UPS. We just had an event in Netherlands. 16 Netherlands companies publicly announced how they're going to help refugees in Holland by employing them, and sometimes some of them supporting them in where they are in Jordan and Turkey. And I just had a meeting just before I came here with business leaders in Malaysia. I love the meeting. We just shared ideas, we shared experiences. What should we do? What kind of solution can we do? What can we do for the people, refugees in Malaysia? What does that mean? How can businesses can lead this? These are conversation leads into action and help society and everyone benefits.
Do you think consumers appreciate brands that take an
Yes,
ethical stand?
100%. Yes. And we've done studies at Stern and NYU that businesses stands for social issues that truly mean it for their employees, refugees, environment, climate, violence, income inequality, truly mean it and make an impact. Their value goes up. Really, their value is up. The consumers tend to buy their products more than the others. And I'll tell you one more thing. Where the world is going, the companies who are not standing by communities and humanities and environment are not going to be relevant, 20, 30 years from now.
But isn't there the risk, the fear of alienating, consumers who don't agree with that ethical position?
True, but also says the companies who are, let's say, gun violence, gun issue of guns. There might be consumers that they want to have their guns. But the companies who care still, even through their consumers, with that kind of consumers, if company takes stand on the issues truly, even if I don't agree, I still respect you and I'll still buy your products.
Wonderful. Well, I guess, for me, I'm wondering for Chobani, what's next? I mean, you have built this multi-billion-dollar business. You want to use some of that power and position to make an impact to the world. How do you see the balance between your role in Chobani and perhaps your role in Tent for Refugees?
I don't see them separate from each other.
They're one and the same?
I love being an entrepreneur. I spend most of my time on factory and coming up with a new innovation, and I wake up middle of the night thinking about the ideas. So here I'm going to go to supermarkets and look at what people are doing.
Are you still doing market research?
Oh my God, it's in my blood. I can't help myself. So Tent is really next to me in my office. So one minute we might be talking about we're going to Malaysia, we're going to talk about all these exciting things with the Malaysian leaders and all that kind of stuff. And the next minute, we're launching this flavor of the yogurt, what are we going to do? Or Australians are doing this or whatever, in Chobani in Australia. So it's I don't have separation of, Tent and Chobani from each other. Mm-hmm. It's really very harmonized in it. As long as I love it, I do it. And I don't know, I cannot separate myself from Chobani and Tent and the people that work in the company. We are a family. It's a very powerful, special phrase for me.
So this brand means something to you?
Oh my God.
Special?
It's very special because it's not me only. It's the combination of a lot of people putting their best into it and creating this. And that's why I meant minutes and seconds are extremely important, because the characters of the brands are built by the sweat of humans and act of humans. And it's not built by ad campaigns. Ad campaigns, it can help to bring the noise and up to next place, but it cannot create the character. It cannot create the identity of the brands. And that's why in this story, I am not the only hero. There are hundreds of heroes in this story of Chobani. And their act of every day created this. And that Tent is one just side of this. And that's why it's an extremely special place for us. And I recognize the power of brand and business through this journey. It's extremely powerful, that affecting on people's life, how it affects you to discover yourself through this journey, and how it can affect most vulnerable people in the world by giving them an opportunity to come back to life. And for me, the child who grew up hating business is the biggest, advocate of right-minded businesses and brands.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Thanks for
your
having me.
story
I
with
really
us
enjoyed
today.
it. Yeah.
You've been watching The Brand. I'm Melisa Idris, and I'll be back same time next week. Catch you then. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I
Thank you.
really enjoyed it. Thank you.